It could be your mom, your sister, your daughter. Every year, 1 in 3 women die of heart disease and stroke, but 80% of cardiac events can be prevented. Now on this Fox 9 Go Red special, beating the #1 killer of women, heart disease. And hi, everyone. I'm Kelsey Carlson.
And I'm Karen Scullin. Thanks for joining us for this Fox 9 Go Red for Women Heart Healthy special. February is Heart Month, and today is National Wear Red Day.
Heart disease is the #1 killer of women, and we want to help to change that. The American Heart Association's Go Red movement is catching on with hundreds of thousands of lives saved from heart disease.
Tonight, we are going to share some incredible stories and educate you on the signs that you might be having a heart attack.
Yeah, the American Heart Association relies on a huge network of people to rally, support, and raise money, and volunteers are a big part of that. I had a chance to sit down with one very local, dynamic volunteer.
Gonna do things different this time for the sake of my heart.
Music is a big part of who Kimberly Brown is, and music is what kicked off her involvement with the American Heart Association after a church event about 8 years ago.
I signed up to be an ambassador and volunteer, started doing some music with them.
In fact, this song is called Get Up, Get Moving.
Get up, get moving.
It was written to inspire people to get to 30 minutes of exercise a day. But along her journey as a volunteer, Kimberly also learned some things about herself.
Because I'm the most foodaholic, food addictive, late night eating, fast food driving through person, loving the sight, smell, and taste of food there is.
It's the new year.
And in an interesting turn of events, that song got her on the Dr. Oz show to drop some pounds. She had submitted the song to Dr. Oz, and they contacted her about a weight loss special instead.
They said, hey, are you interested in, trying this plan to lose some weight? And I said, yes, absolutely.
Kim is joining us. She's from Minnesota.
It was the first program that I was able to stick to, and it really worked for me. I would get peppers. I would do a lot of the squash and zucchini. And because of my results, I was the only person that got invited from out of town.
To celebrate women's heart health. She tried the Total 10 rapid weight loss plan, and she has lost 25 pounds so far. And even though her family doesn't have a history of heart disease, her work with the American Heart Association gave her a wake-up call for her own health.
For me personally, high cholesterol is something I had. My numbers are really, really good now.
You gotta do it for you.
What have you learned about this organization?
I've learned that they do great work and that they make a difference.
Well, in 2011, Kimberly received the Volunteer Ambassador Appreciation Award as well for all of her hard work as a volunteer over these past few years.
Dynamic woman, to say the least, for sure.
Go get her.
Well, a local woman from St. Paul is the National Go Red Survivor spokesperson. 41-year-old Jen Thorson was flown out to L.A. and featured on the national website and materials. Fox 9's Leah Bino helps tell Jen's story.
Joining me now is Jen Thorson. Thank you so much for
welcome.
joining us and sharing your story. Tell us more about this. You had 2 heart attacks while you were training for a marathon.
My first heart attack, I was 37 years old, and that summer I was training for my second marathon. So I thought that I was healthy. I thought that I was fit, and it never would have occurred to me that I was having a heart attack. I didn't feel, in retrospect now I know, I didn't feel very well for some time. And even the week of my heart attack, I did go for a long run. I ran 17 miles, and at mile 8, I sat down on the curb because I was so dizzy.
Oh my goodness.
And instead of thinking there was something wrong, I thought I wasn't tough enough. And, finished the run.
Oh my.
Right, a couple days later, I started to get this pain in my back, in the middle of my shoulder blades, and kind of down my arms and aching. And again, I, thought of other excuses for why I might have that pain. Maybe it was from yoga or something like that. Took some Advil and went on with my life. And unfortunately, that's really typical of women who have heart attacks, that their symptoms are subtle or not the Hollywood heart attack symptoms. And they think of every other reason why they could be feeling that way and just get on with their lives and don't really stop to listen to themselves, that this is worse than anything else and this is different and I should get it checked out. So Even, you know, 2 days of that went by before I finally decided, oh, maybe I should go get this checked
2
out.
days. Oh, I imagine you're like many of us. You have the boys, you have family,
busy.
you're putting
I don't
everybody
have
else
time for
ahead of
this.
yourself.
Exactly. Right. I'm not sick, and I certainly don't have time to be sick, right?
my gosh.
But when the pain really got to the point where it was acute, where it really hurt so much that I thought something must be wrong, I did go to the ER. I spent a lot of time there trying to diagnose me, and I actually did have a cardiologist say to me, I don't think your heart's involved in this because you don't fit the profile.
So how did you get involved with the Go Red movement?
Well, a couple of things got me involved with Go Red, and I started reaching out to look for other survivors like myself, to learn more, to find people like me, and I started writing a blog. And the first time that I heard from another woman who had found me online and this had happened to her, that really made it, it's the right word, it made it make sense to me that I should continue to talk about my experience, and that really helped me with my own recovery and sort of managing this illness. So I went to the casting call at the Mall of America, Go Red for Women Health Fair at the Mall of America, and this year's is coming up on February 7th.
Right.
But it was a couple years ago I went to that, and that's where I met the staff from the American Heart Association and was selected to start doing some spokesperson stuff for them.
And here you are, you've been out to
here I
LA
am.
and
Yes.
back, and I
Yes.
imagine your wardrobe has skyrocketed
I have
in
a
the
lot
red
of red.
department. This
I
is,
do.
you wanted to point out this dress from Macy's.
This is from Macy's Go Red for Women collection that is on sale from now through the end of February 28th, and 10% of the proceeds from those dresses goes to the Go Red for Women movement. So.
Well, you look beautiful,
Thank you.
and your heart is beautiful and
Thanks.
healthy, and we're happy to hear that. Thank you so much,
Yeah,
Jen, for
thanks.
sharing your story. We
Okay.
appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks.
And she does have a great story. She is one of those people that you need to hear that story. It was at 37 to have a heart attack. That's just
Hard to believe, really.
incredible. Well, still to come on this Fox 9 Go Red Heart Healthy Special, how you can get involved in the Go Red movement.
But first, it's all about going red at the Mall of America tomorrow from 11 to 4. There are free events in honor of Heart Month. You can get free CPR training, take part in some family fitness classes, and even check out a fun fashion show. Again, that's tomorrow in the Rotunda at the Mall of America.
We all have a reason to live a longer, healthier life. Today's event will inspire you to find your personal motivation, your why, just as the I had the privilege of taking part in the Go Red for Women lunch and learn at the Hyatt in Minneapolis. Top women executives from the Twin Cities got together to raise awareness and money for heart research. That program included workshops and, best of all, inspiring stories. Welcome back to this Fox 9 Go Red special. And when you get involved in supporting the Go Red movement, more lives are saved.
Fox 9's Dawn Stevens talked with the local Go Red chairwoman for the American Heart Association about getting involved and going red.
Since Go Red for Women was established more than a decade ago, 600,000 lives have been saved. But heart disease and stroke remain the #1 killer of women. Joining me now is Mary Blagan, Go Red chair for the American Heart Association. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely.
So it's been a decade that Go Red for Women has been around. Talk about, first of all, some of the accomplishments you guys have had over the years.
Absolutely. We, as you said, we have saved 600,000 lives. If you think about the way we do that, it's by raising money in the community to do more special research on women's heart health. So we've raised over $6 million since we started our Go Red initiatives, and that's allowed us to get very focused on the women's education and on the women's research around our heart health.
Those are great numbers to have raised that much money. What's interesting to me is 80% of heart disease preventable. That's kind of good news. So there are things that people can do. Talk about that.
Absolutely. And part of what people think about is, do I have to change my whole lifestyle? And you don't. You can make small, subtle changes. So it might be changing eating, and it might be just starting with a meal a day and changing what you eat. A little bit of exercise. You don't have to all of a sudden become a marathon runner. You can go out and get a walk over the lunch hour, a walk in the evening with your children. What we really talk about is just starting to change subtle things that actually have really high impact items for your heart.
So then is maybe one of the biggest struggles trying to do too much? You talk about do it in small little steps. Is that one of the biggest struggles?
It is. Lots of times if people haven't been engaged in some of these activities, they think about it as such a change, and it doesn't have to be. It can start in really small incremental steps, and eventually you'll probably work up to more, maybe you won't. The good news is anything you do impacts your heart. and it's good for it.
And there are events coming up where everyone can get involved. Talk about that.
There is. So tomorrow you'll be able to come to the Mall of America and join us. And it's an education. It's a fun day. Lots of screening, lots of activities. You can learn about some of these small incremental steps. St. Jude and all the different organizations will be there to help people say, what could I do if I had 15 minutes?
Love it. 15 minutes, that's all it takes. Mary, really quickly here, we just have a few seconds left. After so many years of being a part of you guys' association, I didn't know this. Go Red actually stands for something. And people should remember this. Talk about the letters and what they stand for.
It does. So, you know, Go Red, it's simple. It's get your numbers and know your numbers. It's own your lifestyle. Own those 15 minutes. It's raise your voice. Be part of this in the education piece, which is the E, and then the donate. Help us raise more money to do the researching.
Nice and simple. Love it. Everybody can get involved and help make a difference.
It is.
Mary Blagan, thank you so much with the American Heart Association. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
Often we do think of heart attack and stroke on this subject, but there are many other diseases and disorders that affect the heart. Many are mysterious in nature and in much need of research. Take a look at 32-year-old Elle Kirchhoff. At first glance, you'd never guess that she has to spend most of her time sitting down.
So you can't stand for long periods of time?
No. On a good day, I can walk from my reclining chair to my kitchen sink. That's about it. On a bad day, I can maybe make it halfway. And then I'm on the floor.
Doctors know what's wrong with her. They're just not sure yet how to fix it. It's called POTS, or P-O-T-S, and that's short for a longer medical term. Basically, she stands up, her heart starts racing, her brain says to slow down, and then her blood pressure plummets and she passes out. And this is something that has gotten worse with time.
You were passing out quite a bit.
Yeah, so I pass out 3 to 4 times a day.
Still?
Still, yeah. So during the good phase of my life, I would pass out maybe once or twice a week. In about 2011 is when it became a real problem because I was passing out daily, several times a day again.
POTS forced her to give up her job as a high school Spanish teacher.
This is my second year teaching there, so it was in 2006.
And quite honestly, she's not sure what her future will be.
Her search for help took them to Mayo Clinic.
She's been to the Mayo Clinic where there is research underway. Many other POTS sufferers do recover with various treatments, but after 12 years of dealing with this, Elle's case seems to be extreme. Elle's case may have started with a 15-pound tumor that was removed when she was in high school, throwing her whole system out of whack.
My future is why.
And what she desperately needs is research, which is why the American Heart Association of Minnesota chose her to be a spokeswoman of sorts.
So the American Heart Association has been fabulous because they've given me a voice. Nobody's heard of POTS. And so what I want is some researcher out there or some physician to get an interest and say, this needs to be looked into. Something needs to be done for all these people who are left disabled.
And this young, vibrant 32-year-old is engaged, but holding off on tying the knot with that hope that medical science will come through.
I really want to be able to walk down the aisle, and I want to be in that white dress, and I want to walk down the aisle, and I want to see him, and I want to walk to him. And I can't right now.
But she certainly hopes that she'll be able to do that in the future. There is no cure for POTS, but many treatments are being tried to alleviate the symptoms. Elle monitors her blood pressure and her heart rate. She also has to salt her food heavily, and she works with a great team of doctors. And she became a spokesperson by attending a Go Red casting call at the Mall of America last year. And you'll see her story on billboards and ads in the Twin Cities during this Heart Month.
Up next on this Fox 9 Go Red special, this year's edgy PSA to get women to take notice of the Go Red movement. Plus, a doctor joins us with the signs that you might be having a heart attack. But first, heart disease and stroke affects women of all ethnicities. Cardiovascular diseases are the leading cause of death for African American women. Hispanic women are likely to develop heart disease 10 years earlier than Caucasian women. This Fox 9 special continues in just a few minutes.
Welcome back to this Fox 9 Go Red special. Heart disease is not just a man's disease.
Fewer women than men survive their very first heart attack. An edgy new promo, though, by the American Heart Association sets out to prove just that. Take a look.
So they say it's a man's world? Well, I don't see anybody's name on it. While they were out doing their thing, we slowly changed all that. We changed all that. Today, women can do anything men can do. And there's one thing we're even better at.
Women are dying from heart disease at the rate of 1 per minute. 90% of women have one or more risk factors for heart disease or even stroke.
And with some simple changes, you can actually add time to your life. Fox 9's Alex Kendall sat down with a doctor to talk about the signs, the symptoms, and the prevention.
Well, joining me now is Dr. Courtney Beckler with Alina. Nice to have you here.
Thanks so much.
Let's talk about why heart disease is the #1 killer of women.
Yes, it's truly unfortunate. It continues to be the #1 killer of women, in part because the signs and symptoms are a little bit different than those of men.
And how are they different? In what way?
So women more frequently experience jaw pain, back pain, neck pain, shortness of breath, sometimes even nausea, as opposed to typical chest pain.
Okay, so those are things women should think about, that they are going to be different than they are for men. Okay, now 80% of heart disease and stroke events can be prevented. And let's talk about some of the ways that we can work on preventing
This is a
heart
huge
disease.
piece of things, because so much of this is actually our lifestyle. So how we move, what we eat, our stress, how much we're sleeping, cholesterol, blood pressure, these are all big ways that we can really make a big impact on heart disease.
Okay, and so let's talk about healthy eating habits, for instance. You know, we always hear green leafy vegetables, you know, get exercise. What do you think, like, is there one specific thing that people can do in their lives now to make their hearts stronger?
Yeah, so the biggest thing for me is truly thinking of food as medicine. So everything that you put in your mouth, you want to know what that is. The kind of old saying that if your grandma knew what it was, it's okay to eat. If you can read the ingredient list, that's really the way to think about things.
Now, are some women more prone to heart disease than others? I mean, is there a genetic component here?
There is about 20% of it's genetics, but really, again, the bulk of it, 80%, is lifestyle, behaviors that we carry through families. We do see increased proportions of heart disease in minorities, and again, women compared to men. So we just want to make sure that we're extra cautious in those groups, looking for signs, symptoms, and the importance of lifestyle.
Let's talk about exercise, because the key component is diet, but also you have to factor in exercise. For somebody who maybe hasn't been exercising, you know, how much do people need, women specifically, need to do to kind of keep their hearts healthy?
So we're looking for about 30 minutes of exercise a day, but for folks who aren't doing anything, we're talking about just getting up and moving. So starting to walk, you know, walk once around the block, starting in 10-minute increments and working towards that 30 minutes of movement 5 times a week, parking your car further at a shopping mall, so you're getting those extra steps, taking flights of stairs, etc.
You have to work that hard. It's really important, and also to be mindful and to be aware of the signs for women, which are different.
Absolutely. It's got to be ingrained in our day-to-day lifestyle. It's got to be like brushing your teeth, that you're moving more, you're eting better, you're lowering your stress.
Lowering the stress, too. Don't forget about that, because
Absolutely.
I think that's an important point in this.
It
is. You know, our bodies, our minds, our hearts, it's all interconnected.
Absolutely.
And that we have to kind of stay healthy in every way.
Yep.
In mind, in body, and spirit. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Courtney Beckler. Thanks for joining us, talking about ways to prevent heart disease.
Thanks so much for having me.
You bet.
Well, nearly 90% of women who are involved in the Go Red movement have had at least one good, healthy behavior change. Thanks for joining us for this Fox 9 Heart Healthy Special.
If you would like to make a change or for more information, go to goredforwomen.org. We can link you there at myfox9.com as well.